Welcome to Everyday Nothing, a podcast about nothing in particular. From culture to science to lifestyle, everything goes.
Yay! We're back.
We're back for Series 2, and this is Episode 1.
We're back with a bit of accent and loads of character development.
And what are we going to talk about?
I thought it'd be interesting to talk about vlogs.
Mm-hmm.
You hate them. I have a mixed relationship with them.
I don't hate them. I just don't find them interesting to watch. And sometimes, I think in a majority of times, I don't see the point of them. And a few of them that I do see the point to, I find them interesting but not compelling.
Yeah, I think there was a time when I was moving countries and I got into this habit of watching vloggers from the country I was moving to, just to get an idea of how life looks like in that country. And then before I knew, I was drowning in the spiral, the black hole of vlogging. One vlogger leads, because of the algorithm, of course, one vlogger leads to another. And then, yeah.
The
before
YouTube catches on that you like to watch vlogs, and so it suggests other vloggers, and then you sort of branch out, and then now you're invested in many of them.
Yeah, until last week, and that's the point of this talk actually. It's been eye-opening for me, the last week's talk that we had about vlogging and why it is not always good to watch them or
Sounds
watch
like
it.
you had some insights.
I did, which
And we're going to discuss them
dying to share them. By any means, it's not our intention to diss any vlogger or shame anyone here, because I know the intentions are in right place for many of
Most of them.
Most of them, yeah. So it's just us trying to pick each other's brain on this topic. I don't think we can reach conclusion in this, but maybe we'll
just
surprise
to
ourselves.
Encourage some sort of open discussion about this.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And I think before we start off, it's worth making a distinction about the people who are creating these vlogs. There are some of them who are successful, air quotes, successful in terms of making money from them on YouTube, for example. Successful in terms of garnering a large audience for themselves.
Yeah.
And then there are others who are perhaps making it and they don't have a very large audience. They have perhaps a family and their friends and a few other people who are watching it. And really, I think most of the time when people catch on to vlogs, it's the successful bunch of vloggers that they catch on to.
Yeah.
And I would say a lot of our discussion would be about them.
Maybe,
most of it, perhaps.
we may focus on that. But there are different kinds of vloggers, like you said. There's day in my life vlogging, there's mental health difficulty vloggers, there's also vlogging my travel, there's travel vloggers, there's something, I forgot, yeah. Spend a day with me, that's first one. I think that's the most watched kind of vlog.
Yeah, let's just double back and try to understand why we think someone would even get into this. So you turn on YouTube and then maybe the algorithm recommends something that you haven't watched. And then you come across a vlog. Why would someone who's never watched a vlog step into that world?
I think for me, I can speak for myself here. I think I was seeking for some sort of connection. I was looking for human beings that look like me or were from similar background, who have moved countries, like I said in the beginning, that they're making it. It's possible to be, thriving in a country like that with the background that I have. And I think, yeah, it's becoming part of their life. And yeah, it started out like that for me.
So
But
one reason that we can say is that people want to connect on some level, and they
yeah,
find that they feel that they're looking at someone else live their life, and therefore they feel like they're connected and they're doing something
yeah.
similar, perhaps, or something that they aspire towards.
Yeah, but now that I think of, I started watching vlogs even before this moving countries thing happened, and I'm just trying to think why I started watching vlogs before. I think I remember it was living well with schizophrenia. It just occurred to me that that's something that I used to watch. I think.
Is that for our listeners and me? What is that? That's a vlog, I assume, but what is it about?
Yeah, it's about a woman living with schizophrenia. She documenting her everyday life, her struggles, challenges, little big wins in her family. So it was more or less like a vlog, but more structured than what you see these days.
Right. So I'm assuming that the people, I don't know what the intended target audience is, but I'm assuming that the people who will gravitate towards this are others who are facing similar issues, or perhaps people such as yourself who are academics in the field who are probably interested in getting a glimpse into the life of someone of this kind. Because I'm assuming there are not too many other people doing this sort of thing.
Now you will be surprised there are so many people documenting their challenge with mental health, which is in a way good because it destigmatizes the whole idea of mental health and issues around it. And peer support is huge in mental health. Regardless of how much professional support you're getting, seeing someone go through similar, if not same, symptoms as you, life struggles as you, can be really reassuring. Of course, there's also this criticism. I think it's in one of the articles by British Psychological Society where she wrote about vloggers with depression doing all the makeup and long eyelashes sometime in sometime in 2023. This research article came out where it was criticized. I mean, there is other side to it.
What was criticized? You mean the research was criticized? The research criticized the vloggers?
The research criticized vloggers who were documenting depression, but they looked so well put up, like they were made up and they had long eyelashes. That put such pressure on people who were going through depression.
They feel like they have to do the same thing.
Yeah, they had to live up to that standard. Oh, she's able to do it, but I'm unable to get out of my bed. And that's the negative effect of vlogs. Yeah,
I was about to say earlier, before you brought this up, interestingly, that it would take a lot of courage for someone, say, like the one we were talking about earlier, about having schizophrenia, and it would take a lot of courage to do something like that, to talk about your life and the struggles that you're facing, and then put it up online. And of course, you know that would encourage other people and give them strength, and so that's why you do it. But then this clearly it's like a double-edged sword, as it were, because at this point, it panders to the idea that no vlogger can be fully trusted because everything has a veil of, being made up on some level.
Yeah, unfortunately. Whereas on one side, you would feel seen, heard, and feel reassured by watching people going through similar journey as you. The other side is feeling like you're not living up to a standard that others trying, or their journey is going faster than yours and you're trying to match up a timeline. And that was the criticism by the research. But there's also research by Steen in 2023. No, in 2022, they talked about how vlogging can be means of psychoeducation. So there's so many researches that have come out about vlogging if you were to start with the definition of vlogging from academic point of view, because I think we're just digressing and we're going on and
into
on.
the mental health vloggers.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to step back and, as you say, we're going to talk about what vlogging is according to academics.
Yes.
All right.
So I found this definition in one of the articles of British Psychological Society written by Claire King. She quotes the definition by Stein in his research, or in their research in 2020. Vlogs are user-generated content in which people or vloggers talk about their thoughts or experiences to the camera. So they're talking to camera.
That's interesting. So before we get into that, I just want to sort of speak on behalf of perhaps all the listeners, I would assume, as someone who does not have an academic understanding of what a vlog is. We normally look at it as a successor of sorts to blogging.
Yep.
Which was where you would write about things. And then video cameras became cheaper. Hosting stuff on the internet became more accessible to people. Eventually, with YouTube and others, that became cheaper as well. And so you had people saying, well, why write about it when I can also record a bunch of stuff and then put it up? And
Exactly.
It just caters to a lot more of your senses. And so vlogs are basically blogs, but with video, hence the term.
That's the perfect combination, what you came up with. And I think it's one of the videos that you suggested that I watched as part of my preparation for
the
this.
9-year-old one.
Yes. And it gave me a trajectory, trust me, on... I watched 2 videos as part of preparing for this podcast. First one was 9 years old, and it was by James Chick.
Okay.
And in his channel, Chick Flicks Films.
That's nice.
So shout out to James Chick.
Chick flicks.
Yeah.
Shout out to all chick flicks. Okay.
He's compiled a few of the vloggers at that time. So he talks about how Adam Cortris started the first vlog, I think, in 1999.
It was 1999. I'm just going to read this out. This is Adam Contras, that's Kontras.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what he says himself. He says, I'm the world's first and longest running video blogger. And so that was actually the term that was used at the time before vlogger became a thing. So it was still video blogger.
There was also another term that was used by Adrian. It was called Vog.
Oh, Vog. Oh, yeah.
But I think vlog is better than Vog. Don't you think?
Yeah, Vogue sounds like Vogon. So, anyway, just to continue again, he says, I started in 1999 video blogging, a stage show I did on January 2nd, 2000. I started The Journey, which is the longest running video blog of all time. So if you're looking for fun facts, that's the longest journeying vlog of all time. It's called The Journey. Started on 2nd January 2000 by Adam Contras. It's very interesting to me because blogging started only 6 years before that.
Yeah.
So, and remember, the first blog started 6 years before that, but blogging as a habit took a few years to catch on. So,
wow.
The gap between blogging and vlogging, perhaps not vlogging as we know it today, but vlogging as it started, would not have been, by my estimation, more than 2 to 3 years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which is a lot closer than I would have expected.
Yeah. Wow. I think now we are more attracted to video content than, when I say we.
I still prefer to read. I just find it more efficient to read than to watch something.
Yeah, I need to get back to that zone.
It could just be me. Some people will argue that you can watch it 2x or something like that. Maybe it works. I've also done it. It's not that it doesn't work for me, but I just somehow gravitate towards reading again because I find it more efficient. Okay, so just to add a little bit of our own speculation as to why people watch it, we said curiosity is one reason. I'm trying to bring us back on track here. So curiosity is one reason. The other one, as you said, is being part of someone else's life or living, I suppose we can say,
Human
living
connection.
vicariously.
Yep.
Yeah, living vicariously.
Being part of a family.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes. Now, why you would want to be part of another family is a Pandora's box. It depends so much on the person who's watching.
Boom. Loneliness.
That could be a reason.
Yeah,
That
that's
could be
the
a reason.
major. Yeah, I think recent studies have shown, I think we our close friend, the number of close friends that humans had in 90s has reduced by a number or two. I think it's a big change
It's
statistically.
Yeah. I remember. I mean, we are from the 90s, and how would it be? You didn't have, if you wanted to talk to someone who wasn't physically in your presence, it was within a certain time when you intentionally logged into the internet. We were not always connected.
No.
So you had to log in at that time.
Yeah.
And if that other person was also logged in at that time, then you could hold a conversation.
True.
That's it. Otherwise, you leave a message and then you hope that you would have met them physically before they probably logged in again and read that message.
Yeah. And I think I preferred it that way. And I think most of my friends were from my locality, and we would meet almost
exactly.
regularly, like shout in front of their house their names, and then they would come down and we would have a chat in the middle of the road. And sometimes we would have our own, what we called addas, those corners where we would sit after school, or on weekends we would sit there for long time until our parents dragged us
back home.
Yeah. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it also reminds me, I'm probably digressing here, just bear with me. With me. I mean, that's what this is about. Now, I'm thinking, if you wanted to go, I remember when my friends and we used to go to this place, there's a bowling alley and all that. So if you had to go there, right, you would decide, let's say in school or something, that, okay, hey, let's go there at 6 o'clock. I'll see you there. And that was it. You wouldn't have your phone to constantly check with them at 5 o'clock, at 5:30. Are you there? I'm there in half an hour. I'll be right here. I am here. Can you see me? No, none of that. You turned up there at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And you hoped that they would all be there. And they would, for the most part. And then you just enjoy your day. So it used to be like that. And I think now, because we're connected, we're kind of not physically in others' presence. And so we feel a lot less connected. And then becoming part of someone else's life through these vlogs.
Yeah, just to
give a solution.
You made a perfect segue into this now, because
I'm glad we didn't plan this.
it was a reciprocal relationship back then.
Yeah.
Now vlogging, as researchers call it, it is a parasocial relationship. Parasocial relationship is defined as one-sided, non-reciprocal relationship with media figures. That's what Comwert and Daniel define it as in 2021 article about parasocial. And it is, if you look at it, you are idealizing someone you see on a video, and then you feel like you know the ins and outs of their lives and you feel so connected. But for them, you're just 1 in a million subscriber.
And they don't know you.
Yeah, you're a stranger.
And you can't blame them.
Yeah, of course. And
I think we tend to fill in the gaps. They show you something in the vlog, and you connect with a few of the things they do, right? And you don't connect with some of the other things, but that sort of just gets blown over. And then as you watch more of their content, you start to connect these dots where you assume, okay, this must be the rest of their life. And so you could make those connections based on your own life and your own your own experiences. And so you start to connect with them even more. So the longer you watch it, the more invested you are.
Exactly.
And the harder it becomes to step away. Because then you start having these fears of missing out.
Yeah.
You feel like you're being left out of something that you thought you were a part of, but were you? So
yeah, but that brings me to another video I used to research on vlogs. So this is by Aditya Saini.
okay,
It is 2-year-old
Not
video
90s,
on.
much more recent.
Yeah, so that's what I was talking about trajectory earlier. The 9-year-old video about vlogging and history of vlogging gave a picture of these are the vloggers, some of the people watch them, they watch them for these reasons, and then there is a limit to that, there's a boundary to that. And cut to 10 years
7 years
after,
later.
7 years later,
Yeah.
you see that it has become sort of an epidemic and people are drawn to it, and now it's no longer within the boundaries of what is
In your control.
yeah. And because of changes in technology and accessibility, and with our 5G and
Our own relationship with technology.
and our own relationship with our own relationships.
Yes, with other people.
Yeah, with other people. How the social paradigm has shifted, how our needs have changed, and pandemic has it has a huge role to play in this, I think.
It just made it okay. And then it went ahead and one step forward and made it the norm.
Yeah, people were isolated. So when they were isolated, they had these screens with them and they wanted to connect to someone. And this was the easiest way. That's at least my take on why the vlogging industry boomed around that time and why there was a need for Aditya Saini to make this video on why vlogging is not a good idea to consume as much as it's done today. Apparently 80% of consumers on YouTube watch vlogs.
That's huge.
It is.
That's huge. That's what I'd say hundreds of millions of people watching it on a daily basis.
And there are so many vloggers. Some of them, I see there's a message, there's a purpose, and there's a kind of content you expect from them. Like VZ Waiter, whom you introduced to me. So there are these challenges that they take as a couple.
Shout out to beer lovers.
I really like the content by...
Yeah, no, it's good that you brought that up because I don't think of Craig and China as your traditional vloggers who kind of just showcase their life.
Yeah.
Right? Every video that they do, it's about them, but there's a context to it. Like there's a what's the word I'm looking for? There's an end goal, right? There's a target. There's a scope to it.
And there's a boundary to the exposure of privacy.
Exactly.
They're not selling privacy here. He's selling his editing technique.
Yeah, his ideas.
His ideas.
Experiences within a sandbox, right? So they decide, for those of you who don't know, it's like, off late at least, they decide what would it be like to do this for some time or do that for some time. They try out different things and they talk about their experiences and their reflections and so on. So it's not just about you sitting and looking into someone's life.
Yeah.
It's about they set an expectation and then they kind of, it's pretty well edited as well, and then they kind of show you what you get. So it's not your traditional vlog where you can just time sync without an objective end goal, as it were.
I'm just thinking of what traditional vlogging would look like and how, there are bits and pieces of days stitched together by someone who has control of the narrative. And as the viewership grows, as they want their audience to connect with them and keep watching their days in life videos, they have to keep shedding walls and layers of privacy
to keep it interesting.
Yeah. And they have to become character. What is that law in physics where it says observer changes the observee, or what that thing is?
That's quantum mechanics.
Oh, okay.
Right, you're going to collapse the wave function when you make an observation.
No.
Yeah, you set it into a certain state because you observed it.
Yeah.
I think it's also in psychology as well. You talk about how people behave differently when they're being watched.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just to go back to what you said earlier about 80% of people, I looked up the numbers. So 80% of everyone watching YouTube in a day would mean 97.5 million people.
My goodness.
That's 97.5 million people who watch vlogs every single day.
That includes me. and sometimes you, by extension.
Not as often, to be honest.
I
No,
think
I have my YouTube history and everything turned off, so it doesn't actually recommend anything when I log in. So
Oh,
that's a good thing that I've done for many years now.
yeah.
So otherwise,
I need to do that.
when you log in, I highly recommend that to anyone.
What do you recommend again, please? Could you please repeat for
Okay, so
the audience?
normally when you log into YouTube on the app or the website or wherever, it shows you a bunch of videos, videos that you've started watching and not completed, videos that it thinks you should watch, videos that you think you should watch that you've added to your playlist, and so on. And that means you're walking into a room where you're given 100,000 choices, except the choice to stop altogether, and then you're just going to pick one of those things. Even when you don't know what you want to watch, you know that if you just go to YouTube, there's something there. So what I've done is I've turned off my history and recommendations and everything else that comes out of that. So when I log into YouTube, it's just a blank screen and there's a search bar. Yeah. That means the only way I can get to a video is if I search for it. So it's more intentional.
Intentional. Exactly. I think when I said I had a revelation in the past week about my habit of watching vlog, I need to keep some boundaries. I need to set some boundaries around my consumption of online content, especially video content, because it can be really addictive. I haven't checked the research on this, but it is said that vlogs are 5 times more addictive than substances because they give you some kind of, I think, dopamine hit of some sorts. I think the first boundary I would like to set, other than the one that you recommend, of course, intentionally going to the platform and searching what you want to watch instead of just passively consuming what's recommended for me, I think the first boundary I would like is to have full awareness of the pattern. What is keeping me in the loop of watching?
Coming back to YouTube.
Yeah. If I am sitting in front of the TV and watching the vlog while avoiding something that should have been my priority. So procrastination pattern because of that. And if it is leading to any kind of comparison or this illusion of, oh, this is their real life. They're showing everything about their life, which is not true. They can't show everything about their life. Even though they're shedding layers and layers of privacy, they're still acting in some ways. Maybe not consciously, but that's not the reality. So I need to be aware that this is a vlog and there's this illusion of reality. And I need to be, consciously accepting moment to moment that this is happening on screen and they're recording it. They're bits and pieces of the day. They're stitching together.
Many retakes.
Yeah.
And sometimes
retakes,
there are retakes. I assure you there are retakes. and sometimes when they casually walk past something, you really need to tell yourself, hold on, how did they do that? No, they came here first, then they placed the camera and then they went back and then they walked past it for the camera.
Yeah, that's just unfortunate. Biggest boundary is to not make vloggers your role models.
Oh, never do that.
Never. I'm not saying they're bad people. You don't know them as well as you think that you know them. And they might be really good people, but you don't know them like you
get to
think.
know them better before you decide that they're people you aspire to be. It's one of the things you brought up, a couple of studies that I've just seen, I think one of them connects with what you just said. And the idea here is that, say, vlogging, well, it's lasted this long and it will last longer because it sells. Yeah. Right? And this is from a study by Stephen Pelayo. I think that's how you pronounce it. There are a couple of studies here, both of them more recent than about 5 years or so. This is from a book called Rethinking Language, Text and Context, and a chapter in that where he says the use of direct address engages viewers as both audience members and characters within the narrative of the vlog.
Wow.
I found this really interesting. So That's what vloggers do, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're talking to you, right? And so
Hi
you feel like
guys,
exactly.
welcome back to a day in the life of so and so.
And then you feel like you're actually there
Yeah.
in their life that day.
Yeah. We're making them sound like they're evil people. They're not.
No, they're not evil people.
I get the intention, and of course, it is a business model and they earn in millions. Good for them, as long as there is an element of intentionality and authenticity and sort of responsibility in vlogging, you know. Any for any business there needs to be some kind of regulation of sorts. I don't know how it'll work out, but I and it's also responsibility of the viewers to take what they need from it instead of taking everything at face value. Yeah.
There's another study by Alice Marie Lockheed called Consumer Trust in Blog and Vlog Content. And it brings up a point that you already talked about, that there's a parasocial relationship that develops between the consumer and the content creator. But this is another interesting thing, also something we touched upon, but just to show that there are studies that have brought these things up as well. What is it that makes it sell, right? They state authenticity, content attractiveness, self-disclosure by the content creator, right? That builds trust, yeah? And then again, I quote, the provision of product information. But the conclusion is, people trust these things because, and I quote, again, they feel that they know the content creator. They feel they have a relationship with the content creator.
Wow, I feel so guilty about this thing. Me and my friend, we watched same vlogger. It was one of those glow up tales of fitness journey of a YouTuber, and she would vlog from day 1 to day 75. There was this thing that was going on, 75 hard, sort of a fitness challenge. So we used to brag about how much we know them. So I would say, I have watched every video of that. I know that she went to this diet program, and I feel so guilty, but we were really invested. But the good thing that came out of that is we did learn a lot about nutrition. We learned a lot about strength training and consistency leading to results on the weighing scale. But it also put some sort of pressure. But she was doing the work, the glow up person, whoever the YouTuber was doing the work, but we were on a couch eating chips while watching fitness journey of a YouTuber.
That's interesting. Now, first of all, I don't think you have to feel guilty, because you yourself said earlier, and I agree, it's about recognizing your pattern. And I think you've recognized that, and that's already great. And I don't really think you should really feel guilty about that. The other thing is, and maybe this particular vlogger hasn't done this, but there have been instances in the past where people have worked on something over, let's say, an entire year, right?
Wow.
And then vlogged it after the fact, as if they're doing it in real time.
That's where I have the problem, yeah. I think this statement from Beck et al. in their study in 2013 sums it up as to what we need to beware of such content. They say balance and awareness is the key. Too much dependency on one-sided parasocial relationships without any offline encounters has been linked with loneliness, and you need to create that distance between reality and you watching someone on the reel. The reel is different.
Reels are another thing. No, I don't want to go there.
Wow.
Yeah. It's very interesting. So it's about the more you feel connected to someone when you watch them.
Is it true connection though?
The less, it's not true connection.
Needs to be two-sided.
Exactly. It's like, I really think that as we're talking, I'm realizing a lot of it, nearly all of it, comes down to the persons who are watching these vlogs. Yeah. They have to tell themselves, okay, this is entertaining, but I mustn't lose sense of reality. I mustn't lose sense of what they are, who I am, what my world is, and where they are placed in my world.
Exactly. And that's what this person James Chick also talks about in his video.
This is the one that's like 9 years ago.
9 years ago, where he talks about escaping reality as one of the reasons for watching vlogs. And I'm sold on that. And it's great because we go to movies for the same reason, to escape reality, as long as you're aware that you are watching vlog to escape reality.
Yeah, I think the thing about going to movies for this reason is very, very clear.
Yeah.
It's very clear that you're escaping reality. It's a choice you make. You go
Yeah.
all the way to the cinema hall. I am willing to bet if people had to go all the way downtown to watch a vlog, they wouldn't watch it.
Okay.
It's the same reason people binge watch an entire television series on Netflix.
Yeah, that's
It's because
again,
it's come home. And
that
they
is
can.
still
They
an
can just,
escape from
it's still
reality.
it is, exactly.
Yeah.
But then it ends at some point. Now the vlog, where does that end?
Yeah, I think escape from reality is something that you have to consciously accept and say, I'm doing this for this reason, and I'm going to come out of this state and get started with what I need to do in the real life with real consequences of adulthood.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes sense. And there's this paradox, Are you watching for escapism because you're watching things that you cannot do, and so you're trying to escape into something? Or are you watching because they're doing the things that you can do and you're relating to them? It's a bit of a paradox. And I think it really depends on the person who's watching. Some of them
Yeah.
do it for one reason, some do it for the other. But ultimately, as you said rightly, they have to remind themselves to get back to reality every once in a while,
Yeah.
or you will quickly lose yourself down the vlogging rabbit hole.
I think some vloggers do educate viewers, and some vloggers intentionally create content that destigmatizes certain concepts. I don't remember the name of this vlogger who sort of normalized sharing of household work between partners. And that was a huge layer of change in rural India because they actually became role models. But there are very few people who do it for these reasons. But if you can find those gems, those hidden gems of vloggers who do it intentionally with the cause, but again, no matter how good these gems are, keeping this distance in mind, keeping the difference between reality and reality. So you need to have that diffusion of sort in mind and go to it intentionally from what you said, having those settings in place. Like, make technology work for you. You don't get carried away by the algorithm or the settings or the shiny little thing on your TV.
Exactly, and I think it's important because these gems, as you said, they're not available independent of all the addictive stuff, which is not as
Yeah.
useful. They are amidst it. So you might end up watching this really useful video, and then there's an autoplay that just takes you to another thing that's not even related, and then that hooks you onto something else.
Yeah.
These things become a reason for you to start, but then something else makes you continue. Again,
Yeah.
just all comes back down to how we remind ourselves
Yeah.
what we're doing,
Yeah.
that we're doing it intentionally.
I think both the parties need to take their share of responsibility because there are all kinds of movies are made, but we pick and choose where we go, where we spend our money on and spend our time in. So make conscious choice of the content you watch, not just vlogs, any content for that matter, but vlogs in particular because they do have this unique way of making way into your lives and disrupting before you even realize. I couldn't catch myself consciously until last week when I started comparing my timeline with this couple who have also moved over from my
Moved
country.
countries, yeah.
Yeah, they moved countries. So I was unconsciously comparing the timeline, and it was putting, despite me being such a reflective person who has boundaries in place, who knows what she's going, where she's headed, it happens very subliminally, subconsciously, because especially video content, they enter your subconscious in ways that you won't be aware of. It's important to remind and make conscious choices when you choose a content on, especially video content. Yeah.
Is that why we are doing a podcast instead?
Yeah. I wanted my friends
That's just
here.
a pat on our own backs there.
Two strangers talking about other strangers creating content.
Exactly. Cool. We're strangers. No, we're not strangers. Are we strangers?
we are two strangers for you two. You know us through this.
Our voices.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a nice conversation. We'll
I think
be
I had
back.
a bit of vocal fry today. Did I?
That's okay. It sounded great.
Oh, thank you.
Even your vocal fry sounds great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, until next time, we will leave you with, well, a bunch of places where you can find our show. You can subscribe via RSS on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, Pandora, YouTube Music, Google, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Castbox, and wherever else you listen to podcasts, I would assume. All right, until we meet you again.
Consume responsibly. Your mind is not a trash can.
That's great. That should go on a t-shirt.
See ya.